All right, today we're going to talk about a name that, well, it brings up a lot. We're talking about one of modern football's most electrifying, misunderstood, and you could say tragic figures, Mario Balotelli. In the world of pro sports, some young players are just protected. They're wrapped in cotton wool, guided, shielded from the media. They're given space to mess up. And hey, when they do mess up, because let's be real, all young people do, it's often forgiven. It's just chalked up to youthful mistakes, a small price to pay for all that genius on the field. But Mario Balotelli, yeah, he didn't get any of that. None of that grace. From the very start, way before the crazy headlines and all the chaos, he was the kid the system had already decided just wasn't worth the trouble. So to really get why, we've got to go right back to the beginning. And his story, it doesn't start on a football pitch. It starts with this really deep-seated feeling of abandonment that honestly would shape his entire life. Just look at the facts here. It lays out the whole foundation of who he was. Born in Palermo to Ghanaian parents, they just couldn't afford to care for him, so he was given up for adoption when he was only 3. Think about that. Growing up black and in Italy that was overwhelmingly white, he was constantly, in ways both big and small, reminded that he wasn't one of us. So what do? The football pitch, that became his escape, his refuge. It was the one place where none of that other stuff mattered. Not his skin color, not his family history, none of it. The ball doesn't ask you where you're from. It responds to your talent. And that experience, it absolutely shaped him. So you can imagine, when he finally steps into the super structured world of professional football, his raw, kind of unapologetic genius, it just immediately slams right into a system that demands everyone fall in line. And this is where you see the huge disconnect, right? On one side, you have the coaches, guys at Inter Milan, who just saw arrogant, undisciplined, uncoachable. But if you flip that coin, what do you see? You see a kid who questioned authority because he'd always been an outsider. A kid who just refused to be fake and played with this pure instinct that you just can't teach from a playbook. And here's the real kicker. Even a manager like Jose Mourinho, who, tried to be both a father figure and a strict teacher, even he couldn't crack the code. Balotelli just didn't do the whole song and dance of asking for approval or begging for forgiveness. He was just there. And this quote nails it. Football is a world built on players wanting to be loved. It had no idea what to do with a player who didn't ask for it. So he moves to Manchester City. This was supposed to be it, right? A fresh start, new league, new country, new everything. But instead of escaping the story that was being written about him, he became the main event. Oh, man, the headlines practically wrote themselves, didn't they? Fireworks in the bathroom, fights on the training ground, red cards left and right. The media just painted him as this cartoon character, a total joke. But behind all that circus was a really lonely young guy being laughed at by the entire world. And yet, in the middle of all that noise, he delivers a moment of pure, undeniable genius. The assist. The assist. The one that set up Sergio Aguero to win the league in the final seconds. Just incredible. And this moment right here probably defines his entire time in England. He scores, he lifts his shirt, and it says, "Why always me?" Now, most people saw that as pure arrogance, like he was taunting everyone. But what if it wasn't? What if it was a real, honest question from a kid who just genuinely didn't understand why he was always the punchline? And then there was one night, just one match, where all the noise, all the criticism, all the doubt, it just disappeared. The Euro 2012 semifinal against Germany. Balotelli was just an unstoppable force of nature. 2 unbelievable goals. Pure power, pure focus. And that celebration, you know the one, flexing his muscles, that wasn't just a celebration. That was years of frustration, of anger, of everything just exploding out of him. For 90 minutes, just 90 minutes, he wasn't the problem child. He wasn't a headline. He was a hero. The whole world finally saw what was underneath all the noise, a world-class talent, carrying his entire country on his back. But belief, man, in football, that's a fragile, fragile thing. And after a high like that, the fall was just as fast and just as brutal. The second his form dipped, even a little bit, the world that had just been sharing his name, well, it turned on him in a heartbeat. And the sequence of events it's sadly predictable, isn't it? First, the goals slow down. Then, all the patience from the clubs and the fans, poof, it's gone. Then the racist abuse, which had always been there, just got louder and nastier, especially back in Italy. And finally, football, which is always about what's next, just moved on. And maybe this is the most painful part of the whole story. The irony of it all. He wore the blue jersey for Italy. He scored the goals that put them in a European final. And yet, he was never, ever truly accepted by the country he was playing for. It's like he was a hero, but only on loan. So as we start to wrap this up, you kind of have to look back at his whole story and ask yourself, was he really just another wasted talent, or was something else going on here? It's the question everyone always asks about him, right? What could Mario Balotelli have been? What if he'd just been more disciplined? What if he just focused on the game? But maybe, just maybe, that's the wrong question to be asking. Because the argument here is that the system is what failed him. He didn't need more punishments. He didn't need more discipline. What he needed was someone to just try to understand the kid who'd been given up on so many times before. He didn't need to be publicly shamed for his mistakes. He needed someone, anyone, to have his back and show some real belief in him, especially when things were going wrong. So in the end, Mario Balotelli's story, it's not just a sad tale about a player who wasted his talent. It's a warning. It's a warning about a sport that loves to sell us on individuality and mavericks on the posters, but then demands everyone act the same in the locker room. It's a warning that genius, it can't always survive being constantly misunderstood. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. When you look at the whole picture, the boy who was given up on, the player who was never protected, the man who was never really embraced, you have to ask, did football fail Mario Balotelli, or did Mario Balotelli fail football? Is something to think about long after the game is over.